Hey guys, how's it going? We're down in my basement. I've been having a problem last night. The well kept running and running and running. We thought we had a hose on or something outside. Unfortunately, that was not the case. I shut the main water supply off. My expansion tank, my pump, and that's my main line going to feed the house. I shut that off and the pump kept running. The gauge would get up to about 40, maybe a couple more pounds than that. It needs to get to 50 to shut off. It was not happening. Just shut the pump off manually last night, turned it back on. It did the same thing. It just runs to about 40. I believe the pump is failing. Looking at the age of our pump, you can kind of tell that it's been around for a while. And this system runs two pipes running out from the wall. It draws water in and it returns it down to the well at the same time. This is called the deep water pump, but it's inside your house instead of being down inside the well. There's also shallow water pumps that are good for about 25 feet. Our well's 110 feet, so I just did my best to replace it with the close to the exact same thing, and that's what we're going to be in the process of doing. Here is the new pump. Apologize for the darkness, but this is what we got. It is a good brand one. It comes from a well pump store, not a Home Depot pump. All my pieces and supplies together, along with a bunch of fittings and couplers and whatnot. I'm roughly, I think, $430 into it, but it's a lot cheaper than having a plumber come and do it. So it's the first time for me doing this, so I'll take you along and see how we make out. I may try to get this all in one video, or I may chop it up into different ones. So far, the only things I've done was open up my breaker panel, found out which exactly where my lead was going to my pump, which was this breaker, shut that breaker off, then remove the wiring from the pressure switch, so that is off of there. The next thing I did was I shut my water off going from the pump to my holding tank, and I shut the water off on the other end. So basically it's isolated. There is no water pressure or anything after the valve right here. So next is just disassembly. It did have a gauge on the side of the pump. I unthreaded this. This allowed the pressure that was in it, was probably at 30 psi, to be relieved. So as I was unthreading it, it started to leak a little bit. Just kind of waited for the gauge to drop down. It let all the pressure out, and then I removed the gauge. So next step after that is going to be cutting this copper pipe, and I have somewhere around here, I have a shorty that's meant for doing that. Here it is. They come in a couple different sizes. This one's really stubby, so you can get around if you're going to hit something. It gives you clearance to cut all the way around the pipe. So I'm going to cut that off, and I know it's dark. Let me put a light on. And then the next is these two pipes coming in from the well. Remove these two clamps, and I should be able to remove the whole pump. Alright guys, that's where I am right now. I'll shut you down and we'll take it from there. Okay, so I have the old pump removed. I got that taken out of there. And then I went over and I dragged a new one, put a couple of the fittings in it. I got two nylon ones coming out of the pump, and just the copper one sitting in the top. And what I'm trying to do is mock up the setup for the height that I need. The only problem with this pump that I'm running into is those two, the inlet and the outlet, are further apart than they were on this pump. See how they're closer together? So, having said that, I need to come up with a solution to divide and conquer. So the blocks that were there were a little too tall, so I knocked it down by rechanging my stack that you see here, but you want a good sturdy base for that. As you can see, that bottom one is still kind of far away, and that stuff's not like very pliable. You go to pull on that, it doesn't want to give. So what I'm going to try doing is hitting it with a heat gun and see if I can get some flex out of it. If I can get the flex out of it, I'll slide those two on. If not, I'm going to end up chipping some of that hydraulic cement out of there and try to get myself a little bit more length, so to speak, on the tubing, and be able to get those two on there. Worst case scenario, I could add to those, turn the pump sideways, something like that, but we're going to try working with what we have. And just a side note on the hydraulic cement, which is pretty much just 100% Portland cement. It's good for sealing cracks in the walls. I did this a long time ago. When you put the hydraulic cement in a crack like that, when it cures, it actually expands and gets tighter instead of like regular cement where it kind of pulls away and makes a crack around it. So, side note. All right, so I'm gonna go heat that sucker up and see if I can get that in there. Okay, so I've cut up and fit all my plumbing pieces together, cleaned them all up, and put flux on all the joints and assembled them to the location you're going to be, and there is Teflon tape on the bottom going into the pump. Fortunately for me, I was able to get some movement out of this one because my tank is just sitting on blocks, and then it has a long, 6-8 feet of pipe to flex with. So that's what I did. I just kind of kicked it back and let it flex a little bit. Shouldn't be an issue. Just as a disclaimer on this, I am not a plumber, I am not an electrician. I'm more of like a farmer that knows a little bit about a little of everything. So I'm just taking you along for the journey of what it is to replace a pump in my situation, and if this video helps you when you're trying to do yours, that's the purpose. So again, thanks for watching. I'm gonna go set you up over here and see if we can solder up these joints. See if we can set you on the stairs and give you some viewpoint. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. That should do us. I am using a silver solder. Hopefully there's enough on this roll, because lead on the pipes that you're drinking is supposed to be not good for you. I don't know if you can see that. That's what I'm using. Again, you want lead-free solder. So let's give her. I'm probably going to work from the hottest spot that's going to take the most heat, work my way back. Supposed to have a wet rag with you to wipe it down, and I should be able to accomplish that. Looks like it sucked it in pretty good all the way around. I hope so. Alright. So, now what I'm going to go do, now that I have that all together, I have a setup for the gauge. And what that's going to be, let me zoom you back out. That's still hot, but what I have, I'm going to tape up this fitting. I'll put that on top, and then I'm just going to get a gauge on top with that taped up. But before I do that, I'm going to fill this up with water and prime my system so that the pump's not dry before I turn it on, and then rehook up my power. Alright, so I got all that soldered up, and I ran my power back down to it again, and basically my green is my neutral, my white, green is my ground, white was my neutral, and red was my hot. This is running on 115 volts. A lot of these pumps can run either way, 220 or 115 or 230, 115. This one says it's set up for 115. If not, I believe it's under this cover. There'll be a pin or a switch that you could flip from one direction to another just to switch the voltage up. I was going to go dump water down the prime, but I still have pressure in my tank, and I figured if I just open the valve, I could let the water run back in until it kind of fills up. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go crack that. Eventually. There you go. So I got water flowing in. It's kind of hard to see down the hole. I can see it. We're going to let that run. Pop the light on the camera. Probably do you a little better. Splashes up and shoots into the camera. We'll know to shut it off. My guess, it's probably lost maybe a gallon. For the well itself is outside this wall about 10 feet away, so you got pretty much a straight piece of pipe that's 10 feet long. Sounds better. Okay. So I know the pump is pretty much full of water. We're going to go pop that gauge back on there. And it's D-Day. Now we're going to go flip our breaker back on. I'm not sure if that's in the on or off position on the switch itself. Actually, the other one doesn't look like it has anything. Okay, it went right up to 30 psi. And let me open up the. Actually, I gotta open the valve, huh? Not gonna do anything like that, is it? Water's got no place to go. It's one long valve. All right. See if I can trigger it by hand. To remember how to do this. I believe there is a way to do it. There we go. And it should kick off at 50 psi and come back on at 30. I don't see anything dripping. There you go. Around 45, 48 pounds. And that's adjustable by these two guys right here. One's your high and one's your low. Off the top of my head, I gotta look into which one's which. And basically,
cycle your pump down, let it fire back up, cycle it down, fire back up, and then you can kind of fine tune those guys in. Don't try to get more out of it than what it is, because your pump itself is only rated for so much, and your expansion tank is only rated for so much. One other thing I need to do is drain this down to nothing, so there's no pressure in it. And then on the top of your tank, your expansion tank, you have a valve. And that valve right there, you're going to want to set with nothing in it for a 30-50 setup to 28 pounds. That's the correct balance for the whole system. So I have water again. That's a good sign. I'm going to go button everything up and just check my highs and my lows, kind of confirm them, and we're good to go. Again, thanks for watching, commenting, subscribing. Don't forget the thumbs up. Take care.